Good morning, students. It's Kumar Swami again here. Today, I am going to explain you about a new chapter, Mendelian laws or the Mendelian laws of inheritance. Strictly speaking, Mendel has not given any kind of laws, but he has proposed some kind of hypotheses which were later given the status of laws by the later workers who are referred to as rediscoverers of Mendelism. Students probably have studied this Mendelian inheritance or the Mendelism already in botany syllabus in previous semester, but it is there in zoology syllabus also. So let me explain you the details of this Mendelian laws of inheritance. First, let me start with the first slide, that is introduction to genetics. So before directly going into the Mendelian concept, let me tell you about a brief note on genetics. Genetics is the branch of biology that deals with the twin aspects of heredity and variations. Many people believe that genetics is the study of only heredity, but it is not only the study of heredity but also the variations. Heredity refers to the transmission of similar characters from the parents to their offsprings. Like begets like, which refers to heredity. For example, puppies are born only to dogs and mangoes are produced only on mango trees. Likewise, coconuts are produced only on coconut trees, etc. The statement blood is thicker than water also refers to heredity. But even among closely related individuals, there are inherent differences which are called variations. The statement no two individuals are alike refers to variations only. That means even among identical twins, we come across with some minute but distinct differences too. So that is why it is always said that no two individuals are exactly alike. Heredity and variations are the two faces of the same coin. That means they go hand in hand, and according to Dobzhansky, every individual is very unique, unprecedented and non-recurrent type. Mendelism, simply put, refers to the laws of inheritance postulated by Gregor John Mendel. Gregor John Mendel was born in an poor farmer's family, and actually he was an Austrian monk who lived between 1822 to 1884. That means he survived only for a short period of time. He experimented on various plant species and animal species too, but he worked more on the sweet pea plants, that is Pisum sativum, as you know. And he was the first to state the universal laws governing to inheritance of traits of the characters. Gregor Mendel is also known as the father of modern genetics. Students, let me clear you one thing at this juncture, that Mendel never used the word character, but he used the term traits for the characters. Also, Mendel never used the term genes. Instead, he used the word factors. Genetics before Mendel. Before Mendel, heredity was a mystery. That means there was no much development in the field of genetics prior to Mendel. It was just a mystery only. And the laws governing inheritance are quite unknown, and no one can say why the same peculiarity is sometimes inherited and sometimes not so, and why the child often reverts in certain characters to its grandfather or grandmother or other much more remote ancestor. So this popular statement was given by the father of evolution, who is none other than Charles Darwin, who quoted this statement in his popular book Origin of Species in 1872. What was understood at that time? Heredity appeared random and unpredictable. That means there was no precise mechanism of inheritance of characters prior to Mendel. Many traits seem to blend in the offsprings and suggesting a liquid factor controlled heredity. Yet some traits such as red hair did not blend away. So these were some kind of speculations or some myths about the mechanism of inheritance of characters before Mendel. However, Gregor John Mendel, as you know that he was born in 1822 in Moravia, actually in a very small village called Heisendorf, which is now a part of the Czech Republic. And he was the son of a tenant farmer. That means his father didn't have any lands of his own, but he was working in other fields. And Mendel joined a monastery to get an education in a place called Brunn, and he was deeply interested in science, particularly heredity. Coming to some experiments performed by Mendel. So Gregor John Mendel experimented with pea plants, as I said earlier, and as you know also, by means of crossing various strains and observing the characteristics of their offsprings. He also experimented on Drosophila melanogaster, but much success was recorded on pea plants. And between 1856 and 1863, Mendel cultivated and tested some 28,000 pea plants. And continuation of Mendel experiments. The choice of garden pea, that is Pisum sativum, was due to the following reasons. You know that students, before we start a research work, we should select the experimental animal or plant according to our choice and according to our convenience and according to some characters that we observe in such living organisms which is feasible for the research work. And Mendel was a very close observer of the nature, and why he selected pea plants, the reasons are as follows. Pea plants can be grown in a small area, that means they don't require much land. And pea plants produce lots of offsprings, that is in a short period of time they produce more number of young ones or offsprings. And pea plants produce pure plants when allowed to self-pollinate for several generations. You know what are pure plants? The plants which produce the same kind of traits even after many number of generations, they are referred to as pure plants. And when they were allowed to self-pollinate, they will produce the same kind of plants even after several generations. And these pea plants can be artificially cross-pollinated too. And you should know that one important fact about these pea plants. These pea plants are said to be producing cleistogamous flowers. That means the petals do not open naturally. And as the petals are closed type, these pea plants having a very peculiar type of corolla, what is called as papilionaceous type of corolla or the butterfly type of corolla, which always prevents cross-pollination and favors only self-pollination. Though these pea plants are cleistogamous types, but Mendel could achieve success by means of doing some experiments on these flowers of these pea plants, and that is by introducing a new technique, what is known as emasculation. What is emasculation? Emasculation is nothing but the technique of removal of stamens. The term itself refers that E refers to removal, masculine refers to male sex. So the process of the technique of removal of stamens from a given flower and taking out the pollens of it and transferring it to the stigmata of the other flower. So what Mendel did was, he carefully opened the petals of a particular pea plant flower and he removed the stamens from it, and the pollen grains of that stamens were dusted on the stigmata of the other flower of the other plant. Thereby, he has introduced cross-pollination, though these pea plants are basically self-pollinating plants. And after pollinating artificially, Mendel closed that pollinated flower with a type of polythene, or not polythene, a kind of parchment paper, and covered it in order to prevent the contamination of pollen grains from other plants or other varieties of plants too. And this process is what is known as bagging technique. So you should always remember one important thing, that Mendel was the first person who introduced these two types of techniques. One is emasculation and the other one is bagging technique. Mendel's experiment. One peculiarity of pea reproduction is that the petals of the flower close down tightly, preventing pollen grains from entering or living. As I said earlier, it is cleistogamous type. And this enforces a system of self-fertilization always, in which the male and female gametes from the same flower unite with each other to produce seeds. As a result, individual pea strains are highly inbred, displaying little if any genetic variation from one generation to the next. And because of this uniformity, we say that such strains are true breeding type. Coming to a quick look on the different contrasting pairs of characters that were observed by Mendel during his experiments. And as you know that these pea plants are true breed varieties, and the following contrasting pairs of characters were observed by Mendel. First is with reference to seed shape. So with reference to seed shape, he observed two variants, round and wrinkled, wherein round was dominant and wrinkled was recessive. Similarly, with reference to seed color, yellow is dominant, green is recessive. With reference to pod shape, you know what is pod is? The fruiting body of the pea plant, wherein smooth is dominant over wrinkled. And with reference to pod color, green is dominant over yellow. And with reference to seed coat color, gray is dominant over white. And with reference to flower position, axial is dominant over terminal. And with reference to height, the tall is dominant over dwarf or short. And with reference to flower color, purple is dominant over white. So these were the contrasting pairs of characters observed by Mendel in the pea plants during his research works. So Mendel was very much meticulously selected these pea plants for his experiments because of these reasons only. You know, if a plant has such kind of contrasting pairs of characters which are visible very clearly, it is very beneficial from the point of view of research work, because you can have multiple combinations, or what we call it as permutations and combinations, so that different varieties of progenies can be obtained or produced by means of selecting different kinds of parental plants. Mendel focused on the study of inheritance of one trait at a time. That means he never clubbed different characters at a time. He selected or observed only one set of characters. And in an experiment, Mendel crossed a tall pea plant with a dwarf pea plant to investigate how height was inherited. And this type of crossing between parents differing in only one trait, or in which only one trait is being considered, it is termed as monohybrid cross. So here is the picture or the slide showing you how Mendel performed that experiment, or he introduced cross-pollination. He has selected two different plants, wherein one was a dominant plant, that is having a tall pea plant, and the other one is dwarf pea plant. And when these were cross fertilized, you know how that cross fertilization has been introduced or achieved, that is by means of emasculation technique. And in the F1 generation, as you observe in the picture, he could obtain only the tall pea plants but no dwarf pea plants. You know the reason that these tall pea plants are dominant over dwarf pea plants. And when such F1 hybrid plants were self-crossed, they produced the tall and dwarf pea plants in a ratio of 3:1 almost. That means about 787 tall pea plants were produced and 277 dwarf pea plants were produced. Continuation of Mendel experiments. All the offsprings from the cross, that is F1 generation or filial generation, were all tall regardless of the way he performed the cross, that is tall male with dwarf female or dwarf male with tall female. So here the sex of that plant is not a matter, and only the trait is considered there. And Mendel noted that the dwarf characteristic seemed to have disappeared in the progeny of the cross, that is in F1 generation, because it is recessive. And Mendel decided to cross the F1 generation, as you have seen in the previous slide, with each other to see if the dwarf trait is would appear or reappear in the next generation or not. And when he examined the progeny of F2 generation, he found that they consisted of both tall and dwarf plants in a ratio of approximately 3:1. And Mendel inferred that these hybrids carried a latent genetic factor for dwarfness, one that was masked by the expression of another factor for tallness. And he said that the latent factor was said to be recessive, and the one which is expressed was referred to as a dominant character. And here is the slide showing you the different traits that were considered by Mendel for his research work. So in one of the cross, he crossed a purple plant, a pea plant having purple color flowers, crossed it with white flower. And in the another cross, he has selected a pea plant producing axial flower and crossed it with terminal flower. And in the other cross, he took a pea plant producing yellow seed coat and crossed it with green. So likewise, he has selected a series of characters in different generations, and he could obtain different results. Before going to dihybrid cross, let me tell you one thing here. These results of this hybridization experiments conducted by Mendel were observed in the form of statistical approach. So Mendel was the first person who introduced the statistical approach in the field of genetics especially, and for this reason his experimental findings could not be understood by the people at that time, so they neglected Mendel's works totally. Coming to dihybrid crosses, the principle of independent assortment. So this is the principle or the law according to dihybrid crosses, the experiments conducted by Mendel. So Mendel also performed experiments with pea plants that differed in two traits or two contrasting pairs of characters. And the purpose of the experiment was to see if the two seed traits, color and texture, were inherited independently. And he crossed plants that produced yellow round seeds with plants that produced green and wrinkled seeds, and the F1 seeds were all yellow and round, and the alleles for these two characteristics were dominant. So here is the cross showing you the dihybrid experiment performed by Mendel. So he has selected a pea plant having yellow and round, crossed it with green wrinkled, and in the F1 generation he could obtain only the yellow round plants, and when such F1 hybrids were self-crossed or self-fertilized, they produced the pea plants, which are as follows: yellow round of 315, green round of 108, yellow wrinkled of about 101, and green wrinkled of about 32. So approximately the plants produced in F2 generation, they were produced in a ratio of almost 9:3:3:1, which is totally different than that of the monohybrid cross. So here is the picture or the slide showing you the type of varieties of plants produced by that dihybrid cross performed by Mendel. So probably have done this kind of crossings already in botany, so let me not go through the details of this. So you just observe this slide and study that very well. Coming to Mendelian's principles of inheritance. The result of Mendelian experiments led to the principles of inheritance, and it was published in 1865 by Mendel through a single research paper, what is known as Experiments in Plant Hybridization. Actually, it was titled as Transactions or Annals or Proceedings of Natural History, Brunn. So what is Brunn here? It was the place where Mendel worked, and he was working as a teacher in that same monastery, and where he was doing research work in the garden of that school. And at that time there were no other such major scientific organizations except this Natural History, Brunn. So Mendel has put forth all his research findings in front of this research organization, and as I said earlier, Mendel had explained all his research findings by means of introducing statistical approach. So they could not understand the head and tail of the details of the findings of Mendelian research work. So they just laughed at Mendel, because of which Mendel was very much frustrated. And again in the year 1868 he proposed the same findings, but that time also his works were not recognized properly. So with this sheer frustration, Mendel was very much upset, and both psychologically and physiologically. That means he developed diabetes, he developed hypertension, and in a very early age he died in the year 1882. So this was the sad demise of a great scientist. So unfortunately this paper languished in obscurity. That means it was not recognized until he died, and it was only in 1900 when Mendelian works were rediscovered by 3 different botanists or scientists from different parts of this world, like Hugo de Vries from Holland, Karl Correns from Germany, and Schemark from Austria. So these 3 scientists, like Correns, Schemark and Hugo de Vries, they were observing the research findings of Mendelian principles in a conference or in a particular seminar, where they were observing very much interested factors or the things that were explained by Mendel. So they had given a new shape to that Mendelism by means of propositing in the form of laws, and it is named as Mendelian concepts or Mendelian principles. So genes in pairs. So genes in pairs, genetic characters are controlled by factors genetic characters are controlled by factors or genes that exist in pairs always, that is of alleles in individual organisms, and are passed from parents to their offspring. And when 2 organisms produce offsprings, Each parent gives the offspring one of the alleles from each pair. Coming to dominance and recessiveness. When two unlike alleles responsible for a single character are present in a single individual, one allele can mask the expression of another allele. That is, one allele is dominant to the other and the latter is said to be recessive. So the law of segregation, which is also called the law of purity of gametes. So this is the first law of Mendel, or the first law of heredity, which is also popularly known as. So according to this first law, when a pair of contrasting characters are brought together in a cross, they do not blend or mix but segregate during gamete formation. Hence the law is also called law of purity of gametes. So this is the first law of Mendel. And the second law of Mendel, also titled as the second law of heredity, and this is also known as the law of independent assortment. According to this second law, the definition goes like this: when two contrasting pairs of characters are brought together in a cross, they do not blend or mix, but they assort independently so as to produce new gene combinations in the F2 generation. That is why in a dihybrid cross we could observe a ratio of 9:3:3:1, wherein some new characters are appeared because of that phenomenon, what is known as genetic recombination, which was first observed by Mendel and explained in his second law. So pedigree diagram, you know what is pedigree is. So pedigree means it is a chart or the symbolic representation of the different members of a particular family showing some genetical characters or traits, wherein squares designate males and circles designate females, and a horizontal line represents mating, and vertical lines beneath reflects the offsprings, and the birth order is always from left to right, and the afflicted individuals are shaded or filled in. Afflicted means the deceased one or one who died. So here is the sample of that pedigree, wherein, as I told you already, if a square is represented in the form of a inclined manner, wherein the sex is unspecified, but that means the actual information about the sex of that generation of that particular individual is not specified. And as I said earlier, the females are represented by circle and the males are represented by square, and the individuals having disease, they are shaded whether it is male or female, and the deceased one, the dead one is being shown by a horizontal, by a line, and the number of children of that particular pair or the parent, it is being shown, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4 as you see in the picture. So let me go through some common inheritance patterns in humans, particularly which shows the Mendelian inheritance. In the first one, the first diagram, it shows the mid-digital hair. You know, some people having the hair on the mid-digit, that is also a Mendelian character. And tongue rolling, you know, some people can roll their tongue but some people cannot, and the one who can roll, they are called as rollers, and the one who cannot are referred to as non-rollers. Likewise, as you see in the C of this slide, some people will have the hair distribution what is known as widow's peak, and with reference to earlobe attachment, some are having attached earlobe and some are having free. So if you can watch your earlobes, you will come to know about it. And some people will have a kind of thumb what is known as Hitchhiker's thumb, wherein you can bend the thumb deeply, So these are some of the Mendelian inheritance patterns that are there in humans. So this is all about today's class, students. With this, let me stop at this level and continue in the next class.